All right, Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, glory, and fear to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem Rakakwadash. I also want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who I learned this truth from. And peace and salutations to the Lord's hopeful elect, back at it through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, the prophesy the downfall of Mystery Babylon the Great and the incoming kingdom of our Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, man. And to let you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans, as well as you speckled bird Israelites understand that salvation is for you, but in order to attain it, you must repent and come back to the Lord's law, statutes, and commandments, man. And we're coming into the last of the last days, and you got to know what you're a part of, man. You got to understand persecution is going to come. Misunderstandings are going to arise, but we got to keep our faith towards Yahweh, Bahashem, and Yahweh Shah. So we'll start this in the book of 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 16, and it reads, "At my first answer no man stood with me, but all men forsook me. I pray God that it may not be laid to their charge. Notwithstanding, the Lord stood with me." So the point being, hey, we're standing for righteousness. We're standing for Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, and this thing of ours isn't for everybody. So we're going to have people on this earth, even of our own families, that don't know what the hell we're talking about, because the Lord have blinded their eyes. He's closed their ears, so they can't receive the words of wisdom through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah. Therefore, enemies are gonna arise. The Lord say, "A man's foes shall be they of his own household." But that's a certain level of understanding that we need to obtain as we progress towards the end. That everybody not gonna like us. Everybody isn't gonna understand Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shah. They're not gonna understand the true Israelites, man. Therefore, offenses must come, man. All right, so we got to be prepared for that through the Spirit by going over these things on a daily basis, man. All right, meditating on the persecution, meditating on the reward as well, man. All right, but we got to go through that straight gate of adversity, and we're getting ready to experience that when that persecution does come, man. So the Lord is preparing us to watch out for these things. All right, let's see. Let's go to the book of 1 John, chapter 3 and verse 19. And it reads, "And hereby we know that we are of the truth, and shall assure our hearts before him." Right, so doing this thing consistently, it gives us a reassurance, man. The scriptures speak about us having a more sure word of prophecy. Every time we open our eyes, all we see is prophetic events happening upon the earth. What we don't see is a time of peace and security and safety. We do, however, see the exact opposite: a time of war, destruction, confusion. The Lord say, wisdom shall be the stability of thy times, man. Hey, these confusing times in these last days, people are going to be tossed to and fro with all different manners of doctrines, man. We want to make sure that we're grounded in reality, and this truth guides us, that it provides us with reality, man. We're not in that drunkenness, we're not in that stupor like the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. We understand what's going on, so we cleave onto the truth, which is the spirit of Yahweh and Yahweh Shah, the spirit of prophecy, man. And that's the spirit of truth, that World War III is coming, great tribulation coming, famine is coming. People ain't gonna know what to do. People are settled on their leads. They're not looking forward to the second coming of Malak Yahweh Shah, because they don't believe in the Messiah anyway. Therefore, the Lord say unto you clowns, you have your reward. Let's go to the book of Psalms. All right, this is Psalms chapter 55 and verse 22. It says, "Cast thy burden upon the Lord, and he shall sustain thee. He shall never suffer the righteous to be moved," man. So no matter what, during this time of persecution, locking us up, seeking to unalive us, take away our dwelling places, our cars, our jobs, our families, man, no matter what is going to happen, if we're chosen predestined, Romans 8:29, then the victory is ours, man. The scriptures speak about no death, no height is going to separate us or separate the love of Yahweh Shah from his hopeful elect, man. All right, so we got to put on as the hopeful elect daily. We pray, we fast, we commune with one another, man. We're always involved in that holy conversation, man. Unlike the 2/3, being constantly involved in these conversations that's not going to produce anything. A bunch of vanity, a bunch of whoredoms and adulterous talk, man. All right, a bunch of I said vanity, a bunch of money talk, how to get to the bag. That ain't got nothing to do with us suffering and getting to the kingdom. The servant is not greater than the master. So we got to go through that straight gate of suffering, of adversity, and understand that we messed up. We fell short of the glory of Yahweh Bahashem Mahawashah by transgressing the law. Now we got to go through these things, man. But there's a light at the end of this darkness, at the end of this tunnel, which is the kingdom, man. And that's what we're out here to preach, the good news, the gospel, all right, of the coming kingdom. We got a coming kingdom of Yahweh Shema Shai where we can look and where we can look the part. We'll be in perfect states, man. All right, we'll have those new bodies perfected. We'll have sustenance. We'll be rich, man. We'll have the ability to travel. We'll have the time to spend with our families, man, and actually learn our families. We barely know our wives. We barely know our sons and our daughters per our captivity. So we're trying to tell a dumb individual of our nation that this is not your rest. We live in a society where you don't even really get the chance to know your own family, man. We just going through the motions, man. All right, so to behoove you to understand that this isn't your rest and that you need to do something about it, and what you need to be doing about it is moving in the fear of the Lord, professing these names as much as possible, and hopes that the Lord will have mercy upon you and yours, man, because we're coming up into a time where it's getting ready to go down. You see Esau Edom, the so-called white man, just doing whatever the hell he wants through the spirit, man. It's just so messed up here in Mystery Babylon the Great. It used to be so serious here in the United States, but now the whole earth is starting to see, you know what, these people are silly. So guess what's going to end up happening, man? This place is going to be invaded. This place is going to be thrown into another war, all right, going into that third woe, the third world war. But this is the book of 1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 8, and it reads, "Finally, be ye all of one mind, having compassion one of another, love as brethren, be pitiful and courteous," man. So hey, that goes into doing this work, man. That's the true charity. It isn't just going into money, because the Lord taught us that charity shall cover a multitude of transgressions. Once again, doing this work and receiving this work, man. All right, it'll cover a multitude of our transgressions, man. For the prophets, for the teachers, for the seers, we're commanded to do this work in order to get the blood off of our hands, man. So if we don't send out this warning, that's in the book of Ezekiel, I'll get it, then we're going to be found guilty. So that's why we move in the fear of the Lord. That fear produces obedience. So we're obedient in that regard when it comes to teaching this word, putting out that warning, doing the will of the Lord, and putting out that gospel, that good news of the coming kingdom. All right, but you got 2/3 of the nation of Israel ain't gonna make it. It's prophesied for them to be cut off and die. Why? Because they're stiff-necked, they're hard-headed, childish children. The Bible speaks of it. All right, means stupid. This is the book of Ezekiel chapter 33, and we'll start at verse 2. "Son of man, speaking to the children of thy people, you Israelites, so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, man, saying to them, when I bring the sword upon the land," and that sword being symbolic for war and division, that sword is getting ready to come to this land. That is what the Lord has us teaching. "When I bring the sword upon a land, if the people of the land take a man of their coast and set him for their watchman, if he seeth the sword come upon the land, he blow the trumpet and warn the people." So that's what the Lord got us doing, seeing something and then warning our own people about it, warning these other heathen nations about it as well, telling them their fate as well. Verse 4, "Then whosoever heareth the sound of the trumpet and taketh not warning, if the sword come, which it will, and take him away, his blood shall be upon his own head." So, hey, you're going to be left to your own devices. You're a so-called adult out here. Hey, the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, is going to leave you to that, man. All right. He's going to hold you accountable as an adult, as an individual who should know right from wrong, who know how to write and read, man. You got the internet at your palm tips, but instead of choosing righteousness and decency, our people choose vanity, low morality. Verse 5. He heard the sound of the trumpet and took not warning. His blood shall be upon him. But he that taketh warning shall deliver his soul. But if the watchman seeth the sword come and blow not the trumpet, so we're not supposed to hide our talents, man. Once we hear this word, we go out and teach. And the people be not warned, if the sword come, which it will, and take any person from among them, he is taken away in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at the watchman's hand. And again, that word watchman, also the prophets, the seers. So the Lord is teaching us, man, you got to do this work. You got to do his will and warn the people. Hey, the Lord speaks about the foolishness of preaching. So we understand that we get mocked and scoffed and looked at crazy, that don't nobody understand. Is going back to the theme of the epistle, if you will, being misunderstood. But we don't care, man, because we trust in the Lord more than we trust in man, more than we fear, more than we're concerned about what man says, man. Who cares? Especially at this point. We're so far in this place being burnt up, man. We don't care about being mocked and scoffed and laughed at, especially about our own people, because we know what their fate is at that lake of fire. This is the book of Psalms, chapter 37 and verse 8. Cease from anger and forsake wrath. Fret not thyself in any wise to do evil, man. For evildoers shall be cut off. That's you 2/3 Israelites, man. But those that wait upon the Lord, we got to remember that waiting. This is about patience, man. Though it tarry, wait for it. It shall surely come. They shall inherit the earth, man. So this is about a reward. This is about inheritance, man. This is about enduring the process of salvation. The servant is not greater than the master. So the Lord was misunderstood. He was abandoned. He was left. He was lied upon. We're going to go through similar things. It may not be the exact same thing that Malachi Hawashai went through, but we're definitely going to go through the spirit of being misunderstood by our loved ones, by society. The Lord say you should be hated of all nations for my name's sake, man. That ain't just one. The Lord say all nations. That includes your own nation as well, man. So we have to meditate on that and understand how crazy it's going to get. This time of great tribulation like the earth has never seen before. But in the midst of all this chaos and calamity that's going to happen to our people, hell, Esau Edom is going to find himself in Jacob's trouble, in dire straits. So much so that the Lord is going to set them against each other. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 2. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Man, that's our oppressors against our oppressors. And they shall fight, everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. And the Lord said that in Matthew 24th chapter, preceding his second coming. So we're going to see our oppressors fight against one another, man. So it's going to be race wars, race riots here in Mystery Babylon the Great, as well as throughout the four corners of the earth. All right. But so much so that while they're in the middle of pointing their finger at the so-called black and brown people, they're going to realize that their fat is in the fire, and they're not going to have a solution, man, because they're not used to suffering. They don't know, especially the people here in America. The Americans don't know nothing about suffering like you know, the black Americans here. So when these Edomites start to suffer and they can't buy decent food and they can't go to Starbucks and they can't go to the gym, it's going to cause them to have a spirit of rebellion. And they're going to, what the scriptures say, they're not going to regard their kings nor princes. They're not going to even regard their neighbors. They're going to invade one another, man. All these things are going to come in the midst of Jacob's trouble. And then you got World War III coming. And then you got the mark of the beast. Then you got famines and more pestilences, man. So the Lord is really letting it all out there via his servants, the prophets. He's telling our people that these horrific things are happening on the earth. This is the book of Ecclesiasticus, chapter 2 and verse 1. And it reads, my son, if thou come to serve the Lord, prepare thy soul for temptation. We understand what this is about. The hour of that is coming. The hour of temptation is coming where the Lord is going to try the entire earth, man. So the Lord is telling us, hey, prepare for that. Meditate on that. Meditate on being locked up. Meditate on being hated of all nations for my name's sake. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure. So this thing is about constant endurance, man. Day in, day out. Some days are easier than others. Some weeks are easier than others, man. But it's still about putting forth that decent effort consistently. And make no haste in time of trouble. And we're not making no haste because we understand that the time of trouble is amongst us, man. Unlike the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. Cleave unto him and depart not away, that thou mayest be increased at thy end. The end of this life, of this experience. There's a reward, will be increased, man. The scriptures say, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard the things that the Lord have prepared for those that love him. How do we show love to the Lord? Fearing him and keeping his commandments, man, feeding his sheep. Verse 4, whatsoever is brought upon thee, take thee cheerfully. Easier said than done, but that's something that we got to understand. We're not gonna have it all on this side. Things are lawful but aren't expedient, man. All right, so we have to take the load cheerfully to the best of our ability, and be patient when thou art changed to a low estate. We got to learn how to abound and how to abase. Verse 5, for gold is tried in the fire of what? Adversity. And acceptable men in the furnace of adversity. And that adversity is going to, it starts now, man, when we first come into this truth, man. All right, we're going to be tempted to go back into the world. We're going to be tempted by our family and our friends to go against Yahweh Bahashem and Hawashai, man. But we got to keep it moving. All right, and let them to their own devices, man. All right, because the Lord speak about that. You have your reward, talking about those that pray in public and things like that. That's going into the lie of the wicked scribes and Pharisees, of the lie of a false prophet, the ones that want to be seen and heard amongst men for vanity, man. Hey, we do these things for Yahweh Bahashem Hawashai and the hopeful elect, man. So we not concerned about being seen, being heard, other than the will of the Lord, man. Unlike those wicked false prophets out there that are being exposed this season more than ever. They're being exposed for being false prophets, causing the people to err. That's the blind leading the blind, and you do know what the ultimate fate of the blind leading the blind results in, man. It results into them falling into a ditch, and ultimately that lake of fire is what they're gonna find themselves involved in, man, here pretty soon. All right, and that's the judgment, or some of the judgments that's awaiting unrepentant Israelite, man. Okay, so we got to meditate on that, man. The Lord is not playing no games. It's getting ready to go down. Let's see. All right, this is the book of Isaiah 26 and verse 21, and it reads, for behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth. So that's what we're teaching through the Spirit. Hey, this is the time where the Lord is getting ready to visit this earth that he created. And how's he going to visit this earth? Via judgments, via storms, via beast to tear, via the sword. All right, all these are just basically the spirit of division. All right, going back to the Lord telling us that he didn't come to send peace on the earth, but a sword. And I always like to say that that word sword being symbolic for war and division. So the Lord is telling us that he didn't come to bring peace and happiness and dancing and good times. It's the exact opposite. That's contrary to popular belief. Why? Because we inherited lies, man. But now it's high time to awake and come up out of that mentality. See, we've inherited these lies via our slave masters, our taskmasters, etc., man. All right. But the Lord has did what? revealeth his secret unto his servants, the prophets. Now we know what's going on. Now we understand that the Lord is starting to visit the place in which he had created. So again, verse 21, for behold, the Lord cometh out of this place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood and shall no more cover her slain. So we're coming up into a time, man, and the scriptures speak about it's going to be so much death out here that they're not going to be able to bury these bodies, man. We've seen those FEMA coffins, those ready plastic coffins, man. All right, but it's gonna get so bad out here that they're not even gonna be able to use those. Those are coffins that you could put multiple bodies in. I remember seeing those even prior to me coming into the truth, man. This is the time that we're coming upon the earth, man. A time like the earth has never seen before, where they're using disposable coffins to put multiple bodies in, man. All right, it's gonna be a horrific sight. So the Lord is preparing us, and guess what? The Lord say that he wouldn't place anything upon us that we can't handle. So if you can't handle experiencing certain things during the great tribulation, guess what? If you're of the chosen, then the Lord is not going to give you over to that. I.e., let's say you're a woman and you haven't got to your husband yet. All right, the Lord is not going to give you over to having to shoot it out with Esau, Edom, or shoot it out with the 2/3, man. There's going to be supernatural provisions awaiting for the Lord's hopeful elect, and that's something that we have to meditate on as we progress, man. All right, that the Lord is able and willing to be there for us during this chaotic time. All right, let's go to the book of Psalms. Psalms chapter 27. All right, Psalms 27 and verse 10. When my father and my mother forsake me, then the Lord will take me up. Again, reiterating that a man's foes shall be they of his own household. The Lord is not a man that he shall lie. He's telling us and reiterating these things for a reason. So let's meditate on what the Lord just say. When that happens, hey, the Lord is going to be with you. So it's going to happen. It may not be your mama. It may not be your father, but it's going to be somebody in your family, so-called, that's going to forsake you, going to turn you in, going to at least deny the fact that the Lord is dealing with you. Okay, they may not go all the way and turn you in to Esau, Edom, but they may just shun you and don't want nothing to do with you. Why? Because you serve the true living power, Yahweh, Yahweh Shai, man, and they don't understand it. They can't tap, they can't dance to this new song that we're singing, man, through the Spirit. Oh well, we'll see how that works out for them in that day. All right, let's see here. This is the book of Psalms chapter 83 and verse 4 or verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people. Who? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. The rest of these heathen nations as well have taken crafty counsel against the Lord's people. You so-called blacks, Hispanic, Native Americans, as well as you speckled bird Israelites, man. They have sat down and thought of a plethora of ways to keep our people dumb, docile, and not coming in the fear of the Lord. All right. It says, they and consulted against our hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, in that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So obviously that pertaineth into our people, because there are a bunch of false claimers out there proclaiming themselves to be the children of the Lord. All right, the true children have been removed. All right, they're not calling us the children of Yahweh. All right, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, servants of Yahweh Shai, man. They've cut the name of the true Israelites off from out of the earth. That's a part of that crafty counsel that our enemies, our oppressors, have taken against us, man. And the Lord is gonna pay them back for that, man. So we speak about Esau, Edom going into slavery during the kingdom. That's a stumbling block to the people that this isn't for. It doesn't matter. We're pushing the line, man. The Lord is not a man that he shall lie. And when we speak a for Yahweh Ba'ashem Awashai, we're not lying either, man. Hey, that's gonna happen. But we understand why. All right, it's because of wickedness, man. All right. It says verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. So they have sat down and said on one accord collectively, this is what we're going to do to oppress the so-called black and brown people. Keep them in the hood. Let's build projects, all right, and keep them there. Let's build liquor stores and pawn shops, all right, and nothing but gas stations in the hood. Nothing but, if you can, it depends on what level of hood you in. They might not even give you no fast food establishments, man. All right. But you see that in the hood, all you see is gas stations and fast food places. And that's if you in a certain level of the hood. You in a certain level, all you got is a gas station in the hood, man. All right, that's a part of that crafty council, man. Especially in that middle area. I see that with where I live at, man. It ain't the worst. It's definitely where Jake live at. But people can afford some damn Chipotle around here, but they don't give it up, man. They don't want to put no establishment like that in the so-called hood, because that's a part of that crafty council. They want our people dumb, all right, sick, fat. So because it starts to plague your mind, man. All right, the body, mind, it go hand in hand. So if you poison the body, man, eventually it's gonna poison the mind. They're gonna go hand in hand. So you see that crafty counsel at hand on a daily basis, man. All right, but let me get ready to get up out of here. These prisoners coming out. I was just rolling through the spirit. But Lord willing, man, we be back with more epistles through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi, man. But the whole point, man, hey, we're going to be misunderstood in this truth, man. So just prepare for that. All right, so with that, I want to give all praises, honor, glory, and fear to Yahweh Bahashem Yahawashi. Till next time, shalom.